It was supposed to be a weekend of laughter, storytelling, and marshmallows toasted over an open fire. Emily, Jake, Ryan, and Lisa had been planning their camping trip to the Whispering Woods for months. The forest was known for its dense trees, serene lakes, and clear night skies. But it also had a reputation for being unsettling. Legends spoke of people disappearing, strange noises in the night, and an old, crumbling cabin deep in the heart of the woods. The four friends dismissed the tales as mere folklore, perfect for spicing up their adventure. They loaded their gear into Jake's SUV and set off early Friday morning, spirits high. By afternoon, they had reached the edge of the forest. The towering trees loomed overhead, their branches intertwining like skeletal fingers. "This place is incredible," Lisa exclaimed, snapping photos of the scenery. Emily, less enthusiastic, glanced at the woods with a shiver. "It's definitely atmospheric." They hiked for 2 hours before finding a clearing near a small lake. The spot was perfect, secluded, picturesque, and peaceful. They set up their tents, gathered firewood, and settled in for the night. As darkness fell, the forest came alive with the sounds of chirping crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl. "All right," Jake said, grinning as he tossed another log onto the fire. "Who's got a scary story?" Ryan leaned forward, the firelight casting eerie shadows on his face. "I've got one. Have you heard about the phantom camper?" Emily groaned. "Oh, come on, Ryan." "No, seriously," Ryan insisted. "They say a hiker got lost here years ago. The search parties never found him, but campers started reporting seeing a man wandering the woods at night. He'd approach their tents, whispering for help. But if you followed him, you'd vanish too." The group laughed nervously, but Emily's eyes darted to the darkness beyond the firelight. "All right, enough of that. Let's just enjoy the night." As the hours passed, the fire dwindled and they retreated to their tents. The forest was silent now, eerily so. Emily lay awake, her mind replaying Ryan's story. She was about to drift off when she heard it, a faint whispering outside her tent. Her heart raced. She strained to listen, convincing herself it was just the wind. But then she heard it again, clearer this time. "Help me." Emily froze. She wanted to call out to the others, but feared making a sound. Gathering her courage, she peeked through the tent flap. The dying embers of the fire cast faint light, but she saw nothing unusual. Then, in the distance, she caught a glimpse of movement. A figure, barely visible, stood at the edge of the clearing. She ducked back inside, heart pounding. Minutes felt like hours as she lay there, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Eventually, exhaustion overtook her and she fell into a restless sleep. The next morning, Emily hesitated to mention the incident. She didn't want to sound paranoid, especially when the others seemed fine. They spent the day hiking and exploring, the sunlight chasing away her unease. But as night fell, the dread returned. This time it was Lisa who heard it first. She shook Jake awake. "Do you hear that?" Jake listened, his face growing pale. There it was again. "Help me." The voice was closer now, coming from the direction of the lake. The group huddled together, armed with flashlights and a camping knife. Against their better judgment, they decided to investigate. The lake's surface shimmered under the moonlight, but the area was deathly still. "Maybe it was an animal," Ryan whispered, though his voice trembled. "Animals don't whisper," Lisa shot back. As they turned to head back, Emily's flashlight caught something on the ground. It was a trail of wet footprints leading from the lake toward their campsite. They followed the prints cautiously, their fear mounting with each step. The trail stopped abruptly near the fire pit. "What the hell?" Jake muttered. A sudden rustling in the trees made them all jump. Their flashlights darted around, catching glimpses of shadows that seemed to move on their own. Then the whispering began again, louder and all around them. All. "Help me." "Who's there?" Jake shouted, his voice cracking. The whispering stopped. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, from the darkness, a figure emerged. It was a man, drenched and gaunt, his eyes hollow and haunting. "Please," he said, his voice barely audible, "help me!" Before anyone could react, the man lunged at Jake, his hands icy and claw-like. Chaos erupted as the group screamed and scattered. Emily grabbed a burning stick from the fire and swung it wildly, forcing the man to retreat. He melted into the shadows, his whispers echoing through the trees. They didn't sleep that night, keeping the fire blazing and their backs to one another. At dawn, they packed up in record time and left the whispering woods without looking back. Months later, Emily stumbled upon an article about the forest's history. It detailed the disappearance of a man who had drowned in the lake decades ago. Locals believed his spirit lingered, eternally searching for someone to save him. Emily closed her laptop, her hands trembling. She never spoke of the trip again, but at night she sometimes heard faint whispers outside her window. "Help me.